Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Prediction Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. We are at the Divisional Playoff Week. I am your host, Mike Goodpaster. And remember, we are powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online sportsbook or casino that's right for you. Make sure you check them out now at betting.net. All right, we have a special guest this week, Joe Spillman. He is actually going to be the NFL beat writer for the Cincinnati Bengals Buffalo Bills game for the Grueling Truth on Sunday in Buffalo. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great, and thanks for making me aware of that, Mike.
All right. Well, you're going to the game, right?
I am.
So you're covering it. All right. Next up, we've got our NFL beat writer whose NFL mock draft will be out in the morning, his first one. And if you're a Colts fan, you'll want to see it because you're going to be highly disappointed with who he's got the Colts taking first. But you'll have to read that in the morning around 8 a.m. Dan Kornhauser. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well, Mike. Another week in the books. And even though my lead is now one game less.
Your lead is not one game less. You're actually a game behind me. The playoffs and regular season are separate.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that how that usually works, Joe?
Yeah, I'm going with that. That's how I won the NASCAR Pick'em show. I changed the rules in the postseason.
Well, I don't change the rules. It's how it's always been. The only difference was last year, me and Steve were tied going into the playoffs, so we had to break the tie somehow. Dad and Dan was so far back, it would have been ludicrous to allow him to play.
Dan sucked last year.
He did.
All right. Now, I can tell you this. We just saw, 4 out of the 6 games were highly competitive games. When I look at these 4 games, there's no double-digit point spreads. I think all 4 of these games are highly competitive games. I think that the Jaguars and Giants are obviously the biggest underdogs, but I could see any of these 4 underdogs, so to speak, winning this week, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I really can, and some of the lines I see actually, I kind of find a little bit egregious. They're slapping a couple teams in the face, but I think we'll get into that.
Well, Dan, what do you think?
I mean, if we're going to be going by some of these lines, I feel fine about these lines. And really, the only team that I think has a shot is Cincinnati.
And that's only
of the underdogs, because Buffalo is favored.
Let's get this straight. The Cincinnati Bengals are not an underdog. I mean, that's just what they do in Vegas. Nobody here thinks that. Hell, when I watch most of the talking heads on TV, most of them pick the Bengals. So
good. They should.
When you look at that, well, I guess you just gave away one of your picks. All right, we're going to start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the first game of divisional playoff weekend at the Kansas City Chiefs. Dan, what do you think about this one? 8.5 points, Kansas City's favored by.
I like it. I like this 8.5, and it's ballsy because it's the playoffs, but I'm going to take Kansas City with this minus 8.5. I mean, we're looking at a Jacksonville Jaguars team that if they weren't playing the terribly coached Chargers last week, they're losing that game. I mean, maybe they score a couple in the second half, but any game that Trevor Lawrence throws 4 interceptions in the first half, you do that against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are scoring touchdowns on every single one of those drives, and they're just going to run away with it. They're not going to take their foot off the pedal like the Chargers did. The Chargers just shat the bed in the second half. But I don't
remember this, though. It wasn't too long ago we watched the Chiefs blow a 21-3 lead with shoddy coaching. So it's not like Andy Reid is one of the greatest coaches that ever lived. He's a really good coach. He gets there a lot, but I think
much better than Staley. Much better than Staley.
Yeah, but Doug Peterson is still better than Andy Reid, I think. I mean, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl in a lot less time than it took fat Andy Reid. And when you look at this, Doug Peterson in 1 year, Joe, has taken the Jaguars from being a complete and utter mess into the playoffs, wins a playoff game. We all agree Staley's an idiot, which is why the Jaguars won. 8.5 points, though, is a lot here, Joe.
Well, it's a ton of points to me, and really, you're right, Mike. Because last year, everybody's looking at the Jaguars, thinking that they're the Bengals of the '90s for the next 10 years, and they kind of come out of nowhere this year and make the playoffs. Or I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but Dan, I disagree with you because while Jacksonville played a terrible first half, Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions. They did convert on 3 of those interceptions and put up points. But or LA, I almost said San Diego. LA didn't do anything in the second half that lost them that game. They didn't play a horrible second half. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars played a great second half. So I disagree with you that they shit the bed. They just put up 3 points. They didn't have a great half, but they didn't shit the bed. Trevor
I
Lawrence and the
mean,
Jaguars had an incredible second half of that game, and it shows his potential as a young quarterback in the NFL. So I really disagree with saying that LA shit the bed in this game and lost game. They did lose the game, but you can't go to that game and pinpoint any one play in the second half for LA and say that's what cost them the game. You just can't do it.
I can. 3rd and 1, where they got suckered into thinking it was going to be a quarterback sneak, and their end and corner, for some reason, neither one contained.
Yeah, and they didn't set the edge, but I think that was a great play call too, Mike.
Yeah, it's a great play call because you suckered Brandon Staley's defense. Go ahead.
I was saying, and also, I mean, if you want to say there's not one play that set out to you, that's fine. But the fact that the Jaguars weren't just throwing it all over. I mean, they were throwing it all over, but they also ran the ball more in the second half than the Chargers did. And they ran it very well in the second half, being down by, multiple scores. So, I mean, if you don't want to say the Chargers didn't screw it up on their end, I don't know how you can even say that, because they're scoring 3 points is disgusting. And when you're up by that much, there's no excuse for it. It's piss poor coaching. It was complete lack of design on offense for them in the second half. I don't know what they were doing at halftime, but this coaching staff must have just been chilling, sipping lattes in the coach's office or something.
Dude, it's Brandon Staley. It's the same thing he did in the first half. He just got 4 turnovers to give him a lead. I mean, let's face it. This is a Chargers team that we saw get manhandled by the Broncos the week before. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying that, Dan, but what I'm saying is it seems to be the storyline that you're hearing from everybody that LA shit the bed, and it wasn't because that the Jags had came out in the second half with a great game plan. They stepped up their defense and they shut LA down and were able to put up a ton of points and have a great half. That's the storyline of that game, not that the Chargers shit the bed. So, at the end of the day, the Chargers still threw up 30 points. And if you throw up 30 points in an NFL game, you should be able to win that game. And they weren't able to do it. So Jacksonville had a great second half, and it shows their potential as a football team in this league in the next couple of years, because they're only going to get better.
So who are you going to pick, Joe?
I'm taking the Jags because I think that this is one line. I think 8.5 is ridiculous in a playoff game.
I don't think it's
in a divisional round playoff game.
I don't think it's ridiculous. I've seen games that should have been 8.5 points before. I think 8.5 is probably about right for Vegas, because you need to have 50-50 to win your 10%. But when I look at this, I think a lot of this comes down to which team contains the tight end better. Jacksonville's Evan Ingram has been a huge piece in the second half of the season for the Jaguars. They've also got Christian Kirk. They've got Zay Jones. The Chiefs are an average defense. And don't forget this, Dan. The last 6 to 7 weeks of the season, the Chiefs had a tendency to struggle with teams that weren't that good. We saw them almost lose to the Texans. We saw them almost lose to, they almost lost to Malik Willis when he was the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to take the points. Kansas City probably wins the game, but that's just because Trevor Lawrence is probably more apt to make a crucial mistake than Patrick Mahomes is. I think Mahomes has progressed for the first time in 3 years this year. And I think a lot of that was because he has to spread the ball around a little bit more to get things done. I think it's made him a better quarterback, and it's eliminated a lot of those mistakes. I think this is going to be like a 34-27 game, but I'm going to take the 8.5 points just because Kansas City, it's not like they've been a juggernaut, even though the record is. And if you remember, the 2 best teams Kansas City played, they lost to. One of them was at home. So it's not like they're unbeatable at home. We saw them lose in the playoffs last year at home. We've seen them lose in the playoffs a couple times in the last 4 or 5 years. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go with Joe, even though I know that Joe's kind of a moron and it worries me to agree with Joe. But I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to take the Jaguars at the 8.5 points. I do think the Chiefs will probably win the game. And I do know that Joe's picking with his heart a little bit here because he wants Jacksonville to come to Cincinnati.
Well, I do, but I also despise Kansas City. I despise their fans. I despise their city. Their whole fucking city stinks, Mike. It's
You're not supposed to say the F word. Next time I'm on your show on regular radio, I'm going to use the F word and say, now we're even.
So that'll get me a fine.
Oh, no.
Well,
damn FCC.
I mean, you should have listened to me. Next up, we got a battle of the NFC East. And right now it's at 7 to 7.5 points. We're going to go ahead and play with 7. The New York Football Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles, Joe. The interesting thing is here, Jalen Hurts has got another 2 weeks off. He looked rusty when he played against the Giants a couple weeks ago. And when you look at this, I think this is a much tighter game. Daniel Jones, his career has been saved by Brian DePaul. The only thing between Daniel Jones and working as a greeter at Walmart is Brian DePaul becoming the head coach there, because the way he coached him this year, they start off the season and he's basically telling Jones, just don't lose us the game. And that has slowly progressed into Daniel Jones can now win you the game. And it's why Brian DePaul is so good, because we see guys like Rex Ryan who take Mark Sanchez and tell him, don't lose us the game. And he stays like that for 3 or 4 years. And then everybody says, well, Mark Sanchez is a bust. No, Rex Ryan was a bust, because Rex Ryan never developed his quarterback to be able to get in a big situation and make a throw. Daniel Jones looked like an absolute stud. He can run with the ball. This is a dangerous game for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, Joe.
No, I think so too. And what my big question is, and I know he played the last game of the season, but is Jalen Hurts really healthy, or was he rushed back to playing? So, he's had 2 weeks off. He didn't look great.
Put it like this, Joe. I have a hard time to think they rushed him back to play a meaningless last game of the season.
No, I agree with that, but that's just questions that I have. I still think 7 points is big in a divisional round playoff game. I think really when you look at records throughout the year, when you look at holes and that teams have, whether it be in their secondary or their offensive line, I think a little bit of that goes out the window. I think you could point at that a little bit and say, I could see a problem there. But when you get this far into the playoffs, I think it comes down to a little bit more than that. And I think 7 points is a lot. So I'm going to take the Giants and the points.
All right. I'm going to take the Giants and the points too. And I think the Giants will win this game. I mean, this game comes down to Jalen Hurts. I think he's a good quarterback. He's had a great season. He's got a lot of weapons. The Eagles had 7 sacks in their first matchup where they blew out the Giants in New York 48-22. Daniel Jones is much different now. I don't think those 7 sacks are going to be as easy to get. I think you see a confident Daniel Jones. I know he threw for 334 against the Vikings, which is like throwing against the junior high team defense, well, like Joe's team. And when you look at this, I think if New York stays committed to Saquon Barkley, who had just 28 yards in that first meeting, this game is going to get really interesting. So I'm going to take the underdog at the -7. And I would really think last time I checked, they were like plus 350 or plus 380. I would take almost 4-1 odds on a straight up bet here just for the hell of it. Dan. Dan wants to, but he won't. Go ahead.
This has been talked about a lot here in New York this past week. In the beginning of the week, fans were a little conservative. They were thinking, okay, it's going to be a good game. We might win it. Now, the Giants winning for sure. There's no shot for the Eagles over here. They think Daniel Jones is elite now, that they got it in the bag. And they're already looking at playing whoever's in the championship game. And I think that's all laughable. Every bit of it, I think, is laughable. People have a very, very short memory. They're really excited with how Daniel Jones is playing now, but they seem to forget he was not that impressive this season. And like you said, Mike, I mean, early in the season, they went out there and said, don't lose the game. But that was pretty much the trend for most of the season. I mean, the guy only threw 15.
Until the last 3 or 4 weeks. But the thing is that's coaching. I mean, because you do that with a quarterback that's not ready yet. And then you throw him out there. Hell, the high school team I coached, we were 5-4. I switched to quarterbacks because I babysat the backup quarterback all year. When we got ready to play in the playoffs, he gave us something totally different than what the other quarterback gave us. The other teams weren't ready for it. We win 5 in a row. We win a championship. And it's about confidence. Daniel Jones lacked confidence because the first 3 years he was in New York, they had no coaching, they had no guidance, they had no leadership. Brian DeBoll right now, I mean, if I could have anybody coach my team, Brian DeBoll would be in my top 5 of guys I would want coaching my team. And remember this, his best game in a regular season was like 3 or 4 weeks ago where he threw for over 300 yards then too.
I'm not sold. I'm still not sold.
Well, don't be. Go ahead and lose the game. Give the Giants or give the Eagles the points because I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts at all.
He's done more this year. He's done more this year than Jones would hope to do in his.
Not what we're talking about. We're talking about 2 teams playing each other. Brian DeBoll is a better coach than Nick Sirianni. Jalen Hurts is a slightly better. He's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. But the problem is this: he's only played 1 game in the last 5 or 6 weeks. And the thing about him, they do a lot of RPOs. They do a lot of rhythm passing. He looked rusty as hell doing that a couple weeks ago in that last regular season game against the Giants JV that they almost lost when they played their starters. So when you've got a rhythm quarterback, especially an RPO quarterback, it's going to take him a while to get into there. So if we see in the first quarter, we see Jalen Hurts throw an interception and the Giants convert on it, the Giants are in really good shape in this game. But either way, I think the Giants are a tough, physical, well-coached football team. And it's hard to give up 7 points when you see a team like that.
I'm going to take Philly. I think they win this by a touchdown. And it's just simple. They're the better
If they
team.
win it by a touchdown, it'll be a push.
Still, I'll take it. I'll take it by at least a touchdown. I'll take the Eagles.
You would take a tie. You're kind of a soccer guy. You can tell by looking at you.
That's right. Take it.
You
I'll
play
take
soccer,
it.
Dan?
A tie is not a loss. I love soccer.
Oh my God.
And I also enjoy a good game of hockey.
He never played football, though.
I like hockey.
I played football in high school and flag football in college. That counts.
You didn't play football in high school.
I did.
Sitting on the bench don't count.
That counts. All right. I was at practice every day. That counts.
See, I know Joe played football. He didn't play it great, but he played football. Joe was my starting fullback inside or outside linebacker. It's so long ago I don't even remember. Because Joe looks a little bit older than me now, don't you think, Dan?
I've had a rough life, Mike. Yeah, it's the beard.
It's the beard.
He's had a rough life. He grew up in Cleves. All right, next up.
But one last thing before we move on to the next game, I want to say my biggest thing with this game is, at least for Philadelphia's offense, one of the best rushing games in the NFL. They can run it on anyone, any given Sunday. The Giants, very mediocre stopping the run. And we're in the playoffs. What do we say wins championships? Good defense, stopping the run, getting turnovers, and running the ball well.
All right.
Philadelphia does all of those things.
Wait a second. Answer me this question now. If the RPOs don't work, that rushing game's not the same. And if he's out of rhythm with the RPOs and they have to line up and actually just run the ball against teams, it's a little different. I mean, I would think most of their big play yardage comes off RPOs. Agreed?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So if Jalen Hurts is rusty and the RPOs aren't working, and all of a sudden you're 3rd and 7 instead of 3rd and 2, it changes the game completely. So I think all this hinges on whether Jalen Hurts is 100% or not. If he's 100%, they win the game. If he's not 100%, the Giants win the game.
Well, where you at on the Giants?
Touchdown.
Where you at on the Giants defense, Mike, and being able to disguise some of the coverages to throw off the RPOs?
Number one, I don't like RPO offenses. I think that's why this offense is not that good. I think it's why they can't win a Super Bowl. I mean, I've seen teams that are 30, 40% RPO maybe. The Eagles, to me, are more than 50%, correct, Dan? You probably see it more than I do since you're in the East Coast. But I don't
yeah. They run a lot of RPOs.
You know, like the Bengals, you'll see maybe 20% RPOs. The rest of it, they have a quarterback. All right? And the thing is this, if you're running RPOs, number one, don't pay Jalen Hurts a shit ton of money in the future, because if you ever switch quarterbacks and you're not running RPOs, I don't think Jalen Hurts is a dude that's going to drop back, sit in the pocket, and throw the ball successfully 65% of the time. I just don't think that. I think he's a good quarterback. He is nowhere on the level of the top 2 guys. And really, he's nowhere on the level of the next 2 or 3 guys. You know, I would take Dak Prescott over Jalen Hurts in a heartbeat. I think Dak Prescott's biggest issue is he's never had a head coach. And he still doesn't.
He's the
And nothing's going to happen to that man, apparently, no matter what happens in moving forward. Jerry Jones is sticking with McCarthy.
Yeah, unless they get beat like 56-0, and he'll be fired before he even gets on the team plane because it's Jerry Jones. All right. Why? You want the Cowboys to be successful? I'd rather to keep Mike McCarthy. All right, next up, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Buffalo Bills. Dan, what do you think?
Well, I spoiled it earlier, but I'm taking Cincinnati. I think this line is disrespectful. I know Joe was talking about some disrespectful lines earlier in the show, and I think this is the most disrespectful. I think the Bengals are a better team. Their offense is better. Their defense is better. I mean, their coaching is very hit or miss.
No, don't give me that. What the hell is Sean McDermott then? Has Sean McDermott been to a Super Bowl?
No.
No. Has he beat Kansas City in a playoff game? No.
Nope.
Zach Taylor has. And the thing about the Bengals, Zach Taylor has become a very good coach over the last 2 years. Slowly. And I still cringe when it's 3rd and 1 and he throws a damn shovel pass on the goal line. But when you watch Lou Anarumo and the adjustments he makes, I mean, the adjustment this last week when the Ravens were gouging and running the ball outside to actually take Cam Sample and put him at defensive end to set that edge so they couldn't run the ball as easily, that was brilliant. Now, the thing is, the Ravens are well coached too. And the Ravens, started throwing the ball on first down and getting to the Bengals. But the thing about that was you took the Ravens out of what they wanted to do. He's really good at doing that. People talk about the offensive line. The offensive line was trash last year. It's trash this year. Jonah Williams wasn't any good anyways. The guys they're going to replace him with aren't any good anyways. So this is going to be a scheme thing. Sometimes you got P. Ryan in. You chip that defensive end there. You take Hayden Hurst or Wilcox and you chip him there. You might even see, I think, a lot more 2 tight end sets from the Bengals in this game just to protect that. Because let's face it, the Buffalo Bills secondary could not cover the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers. Hell, the Bills secondary couldn't cover the Dolphins wide receivers. Luckily for them, Jalen Waddle is maybe the most overrated wide receiver in the history of the NFL right now because the dude can't catch a cold.
How many drops did he
butt
have?
ass naked and it's 40 degrees below zero. I mean, if the Dolphins could catch the ball, they win the game. I mean, I think it's a damn shame that Skylar Thompson, you're going to think he went 18 for 43 in a damn playoff game, where really if they catch the ball, he's 25 for 43. The other thing about the Bills, I don't think they're well coached. Think about Leslie Frazier, who likes to play the soft cover 2. He cannot play soft cover 2 against the Bengals. He just can't, because if he does, number one, you negate the Bengals' issue with offensive line, because then the Bengals can just throw the ball quickly, pick you apart. You got to blitz at least a little bit. The problem with that is Joe Burrow's maybe the best quarterback in the NFL against the blitz. On the other side, you've got Josh Allen, who is ranked 31st against blitzes in the NFL. He's terrible against them. He is a very good quarterback that seems to think he has to be Superman. The other issue is this. If you look at these teams outside of the Giants, the Bills' receiving core is the worst. Stephon Diggs is one of the best receivers in football. Gabe Davis is good. Cole Beasley was retired most of the year. They can't match up. The Bengals secondary is going to stop this. And the other thing is this. I mean, I know they've got Milano has had a great year. Logan Wilson is maybe the best inside linebacker in football right now. I mean, the dude's all over. He makes plays all over the place. You got Trey Hendrickson. And people talk about the Bengals O-line. How many sacks have the Bills given up this year? Because I watched them give up 22 pressures against the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have Bradley Chubb to rush the passer. What else do they have? The Cincinnati Bengals, you've got now Cam Sample, Joseph Asai, which would be good for most teams. But the starters are Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. You got DJ Reader in the middle. I mean, the Bengals defense is maybe the best red zone defense in football. And the other thing about it is this. They're a bend but don't break. The way to play the Buffalo Bills is to play soft. Let Josh Allen have the short throws. The Miami Dolphins did that. And what happens when you play a quarterback like Josh Allen, who's a gunslinger, a la Brett Favre? You give him all these 5-6 yard passes, he's going to get impatient. He's going to want to throw the ball deep. And that's why he threw the pick, especially the deep ball pick that he never should have thrown against the Miami Dolphins. Crowd doesn't matter. The Bengals play better on the road than they do at home. They went to Tennessee and won. They went to Kansas City and won. We've watched them do it this year. The Bengals will win this game. I'm tired of hearing the DeMar Hamlin crap. I'm tired of Bengal fans and Bills fans, loving and kissing on you. Kumbaya, screw that shit. We're going to kick the Buffalo Bills' ass, and there's nothing they can do about it. Joe, what do you think? You agree?
No, Mike.
Plus, I get 4 points.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Well, so this is one of these lines that I was saying disrespectful, but I thought the line was 5.5.
Hey, remember this: the Bills were favored by 1 in Cincinnati, and it went to 2.5 before the kickoff.
So, well, and that makes absolute sense because this is essentially the same line because the Bills are getting 3 for being at home, right?
Exactly.
So, what I will say is, for half a quarter that I got to watch of the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati game, which you can kind of throw out the window, I will tell you for the drive and the half that I got to watch Cincinnati Bengals on the field, the Buffalo Bills their secondary had absolutely no answer for Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Absolutely no answer at all. Every one of them was wide open every play against the soft zone coverage that they're playing. It was obvious on the field that was going to be a game that came down to trading touchdowns for field goals all game long, and that's exactly what we've seen on the first drive and a half. Now, what I'll say about the Bengals is this game last week against the Ravens, right? Being down there, Mike, and I don't know if you saw this, but T. Higgins and Jamar Chase were open an awful lot.
I thought you were gonna ask me about the other thing you told me about. Go ahead.
Yeah. We'll get into that if you want to. But
here we go.
Things you see in an NFL football game played at 8:00 at night.
Unbelievable. Yeah. But anyway, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, who actually had 1 receiving touchdown in the game, I believe. Or did he drop that? I can't remember. Anyway, they were open a whole bunch, and it seemed like Joe Burrow's throwing the check down an awful lot. One thing that I think that Cincinnati needs to do this weekend is they need to run a lot more play action than they have. I
Joe,
think
it's really hard to run play action when you have no line.
I understand that. But I don't think that.
Hey, remember this, Joe. First play of the game against Buffalo. Remember, Jamar Chase runs deep, pass interference because they can't cover him. Right, it doesn't take long to throw a deep ball if you just drop back and launch it. Yeah. And the way they play that cover 2 all the time, if you throw that quick, that safety's not getting there unless he's cheating. And if he cheats, you take T. Higgins and you run him up seam, you run a post right behind that dude, and he's open for a touchdown.
Buffalo showed that their defensive secondary was pretty weak this weekend. They've showed it all season. I don't see how Buffalo stops the Bengals offense. I have questions about the Bengals defense and their secondary going into this game. I think that there's going to be a lot of passing and a lot of scoring. But as Mike said, the Bengals probably have the top 2, maybe the best red zone defense in the NFL. And, as a Bengals fan, as a fan of any team, you'll trade touchdowns for field goals all day long. So I think this -4, I think this should be a pick 'em, or actually think the Bengals should probably be favored by about 3 in this game. So I'm going to take the Bengals in the points. I don't even need the points. The Bengals are going to outright win the game.
I'm curious if this line, I don't know why it's -4.
I can explain to you why it is. Number one,
we know it was -3 for the home field advantage, whatever.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Vegas is trying to get even money bet on both teams. So they put the line at where they get the same amount of money bet on both sides. The only thing here is 4 points. I mean, to me, the perfect line on this, considering that the Bills are at home, would probably be, if I'm a gambler, would probably be 2.5 or 3.
I was just thinking like 2.
Yeah. If I'm a bookie in Vegas, I'm going to set the line at probably 3. Because I think I can get even money that way. I think at 4, you're probably getting 70% Bengal money. The other thing is, I think a lot of people read into the Bengals offensive line, but we've seen the Bengals scheme and get away with that. I mean, they almost won a Super Bowl last year with maybe the worst offensive line ever played in the playoffs. The other thing is, Buffalo's offensive line sucks also.
Yes, it does. I have a question as well. So, and I just want your opinion. This is not gameplay related. But does anybody have an opinion on why the NFL assumed that Buffalo was going to win the Monday night game and decided to have an AFC championship game between Buffalo and Kansas City at a neutral site, but not a divisional round game between Cincinnati and Buffalo. I feel as a Cincinnati Bengals fan, that's absolutely disrespectful to the city of Cincinnati.
And
Roger Goodell needs to slap himself. Yeah. Roger Goodell needs to slap himself in the face and punch himself in the balls because he's an absolute freaking clown. I don't know why the assumption. I don't know why the assumption is the Bengals were going to lose that game, because everything that the NFL did after the cancellation of that game was under the assumption that Cincinnati was going to lose, and it pisses me off.
Well, it's because the history of the Bengals, nobody cares. Not in the NFL, nobody cares about Cincinnati. And to tell you the truth, if DeMar Hamlin doesn't get hurt, I mean, they're just hoping for Kansas City to win.
DeMar Hamlin doesn't get hurt. Cincinnati's the 2 seed, and this game's in Cincinnati.
Okay, so this is the thing. You got to take the homer out of it a little bit, Joe. We don't know what's happening the rest of that game. Joe Burrow could have got hurt on the next snap.
He might have.
Yeah, so we can't just assume that. You know, we saw the game. I think all three of us think the Bengals would have won that game. But there's a lot of things that can happen to change the outcome of a game. How many games do we see in the last few weeks where it's 20-0 and that team loses or barely wins? So I'm not going to assume that. I just think the only way they could have done this, no coin flip, none of this other bullshit, they should have just played the game the next week and pushed the playoffs back a week. We start the wild card this week and everything's fair for everybody. The problem is you have a big corporation. They don't care if everything is fair for everybody. They have an agenda. Their agenda became, we need the Bills to play the Chiefs at the championship game, and we probably need the Bills to win that game to get them to the Super Bowl. And I know that is not saying that the NFL is rigged. I don't think it's rigged. If it was rigged, they'd have called the block in the back, even though it would have been a cheap call. They would have called that on the Sam Hubbard Bumble in the Jungle return. So, or then again, you could look at it. They want to make sure the Bengals win that game because the Bengals at the Bills is big money. I don't understand. It surprised me they didn't put the Bengals Bills at the 8:00 Saturday night spot, actually, because I thought for sure they would do that or put it at the 6:30 game on Sunday. I figured they would make that the main game, but it'll also show you this: New York and Philadelphia, two big cities. They're going to put Cincinnati Buffalo, even though it may be a better game. They're going to put it in the earlier time slot because they want to make money, Joe. This is all about making money. It's all it's ever about with the NFL. They don't take care of their players. They shit on them. And, you know, you don't have benefits when you're done playing unless you played 3.5 years. And I can tell you this, perfect example, Jared Lorenzen, I coached arena football, coached a little bit before that, but he basically after 3 years was cut. I know like 10 guys on my phone right now we could call and they could explain to you how right after their third year they were cut. You know, they bring in a rookie who makes a lot less money. They don't have to pay the pension to the guy that just got cut into 3 years. They just saved money. You know, you had the big big hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, whatever lawsuit to take care of retired players. Yeah. But yet Ricky Dixon, even on his deathbed, his bills weren't paid yet. And his wife was still having to fight with the NFL to get that money because they were trying to claim that he didn't get Lou Gehrig's disease from freaking playing football. I mean, the thing is this, the odds of getting Lou Gehrig's disease, like 1 in 500,000 or something. If you're an NFL player, the odds are 15 in 500,000. So that's a pretty big increase in your chances to get it. So just chill out, Joe, because you're a Bengals fan. And Dan, if you're a Lions fan, we're all always going to get screwed over by the NFL. It's life. It's what corporations do.
I'm used to
Remember, the NFL was considered not for profit until about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They weren't even paying taxes. So,
crazy.
All right, let's head out to the Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. There aren't too many teams in the history of the NFL that have a greater playoff rivalry than Dallas San Francisco. You could go back all the way to 1970, NFC Championship game at the old Kezar Stadium. The 49ers lose to the Cowboys 17-10. I think they played in 71, maybe even 72. You had one of those games where Roger Staubach led a comeback from 14 down with a couple minutes left. Then you had to catch a game in 81. The games in the early 90s. Hell, they played last year in the playoffs. When I look at this game, Dan, I think this is much more competitive than what other people think because Dallas is capable. They can run the ball. Dak Prescott, if he doesn't turn the ball over, could change the narrative on his career right now. They've got Dalton Schultz. They've got a decent offensive line. They got CD Lamb. They got enough weapons. To me, this game at 4 points is pushing it because I think the Cowboys, this is to me almost a 50-50 game. Am I crazy, Dan?
I wouldn't say you're crazy, but I am 110% sold on the 49ers, their defense, their ground game. I'm sold on that Purdy Brock they got at quarterback. I am.
Yeah, let's be sold on a guy after he plays, what, 4 or 5 games?
Sold. I'm getting a Brock Purdy jersey. That's it.
Yeah, it's the only time you'll be Purdy.
But it's you're not crazy, but I don't think it's 50-50. I think it's San Francisco all the way.
All right. Joe, agree or disagree?
I do agree with Dan. I think Brock Purdy has looked good, but as you said, Mike, the San Francisco defense, great defense, probably the best in the NFL.
No, not even close. The Baltimore Ravens have the best defense. The San Francisco 49ers secondary is very beatable.
They got the best defense in the NFC. How's that, Mike?
No, I think the Eagles are better.
Oh, anyway. I think Brock Purdy's run's coming to an end this week, and I hate to say that because I despise the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, absolutely despise them. But
Joe hates everybody, though. Just so you know.
I do not.
Everybody's not the Bengals.
That's not true either.
Oh, you got a second favorite team, Traitor.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that either, Mike. Dan, you got like 35 jerseys in your. You
damn Benedict Arnold.
Yeah, it's sad when a grown man has so many shirts with another man's name on the back of it.
Hell yeah. But anyway, I'm going to go with the Cowboys, and I'm going to take the points next one. I hope I'm wrong. I'd like San Francisco to win another game.
I'd like them to beat the Cowboys. They beat us in the Super Bowl twice.
I hate both these teams. I hate the Cowboys more, though.
Put it like this, though, Joe. Who would you rather play in the Super Bowl, the Cowboys or the 49ers?
Neither.
Why not? Because you want to play the Giants?
No, I don't care. I don't care who the Bengals play in the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right.
He's just happy to be there.
No,
Dallas
it doesn't matter.
Answer me this, Dan. How did the 49ers or how did the 49ers do against the best teams they played this year?
How did the 49ers do against the best teams that they played this year?
I'm looking it up right now just because
so am I. Yeah,
because I'm old as hell.
I got it here. So
I got it here. Oh wait, the Chiefs beat them by 21.
Chiefs smacked them. Yep.
Now, what are the other good teams they played? They beat the Chargers by 6.
Miami, Tampa.
They beat the Saints 13-0. They did beat Miami 33-17 when Miami was pretty good at that point. They blew out Tampa Bay, but we all know Tampa Bay is not any good. They just played the NFC South. I mean, when I look at this, they beat the Commanders. My issue with this whole thing is this. If the Dallas Cowboys had a different head football coach, I think the Dallas Cowboys probably would have had home field advantage because I think they're the most talented team in the NFC overall. Because I think the 49ers have significant issues in the secondary. My issue is the coach. But the 49ers beat the Raiders 37-34. That was a game that meant something to the Niners, meant nothing to the Raiders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. So when you look at the Raiders, Jarrett Stidham threw for 365 yards and 3 touchdowns. Did you hear that? 365 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Seattle Seahawks led at halftime. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys to win this game. I'm going to take the 4 points. Don't get me wrong. But I think the Cowboys win. I think the Cowboys could very easily play the Giants. And I think the Bengals play the Chiefs when this is all said and done. And I think your Super Bowl, as I said on this show 3 months ago, will be the Cincinnati Bengals against the Dallas Cowboys. You remember, I have said this repeatedly. The last 2 or 3 times you asked me who my Super Bowl pick was, I said Bengals over Cowboys. Did I not?
I wrote these things down, and I can revisit this.
Revisit
So
it. Because I know a few
in
weeks ago it was asked. I said Bengals, Cowboys.
you
I
did
know second
that
or
was
third week of
week 18.
November. Second or third weekend in November, I said Bengals versus Cowboys.
Let me go back there. So yes, in week 18 you said Cowboys Bengals.
Yeah, go back to the start of November.
Let's see. Jesus Christ.
I didn't know you could. Don't use the Lord's name in vain. Risley's been told about that, you dumbass.
You had where am I going? Where am I going? I feel like all right, I would have to look this up a little bit better because I don't know what's going on. I thought you had. Oh no, that was me. No, that was Steve a few weeks ago. Because all right, so I had Philly, KC. You had Cincy, Dallas in week 18, and I don't know the last time we did Super Bowl picks.
It was like November. It would have been like November 11th or 12th.
Yeah, I must not have written it down because I have other weeks where we did Super Bowl predictions, and they're all pretty ugly.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you, from the start of November to now, I've said Cowboys Bengals. It's going to be Cowboys Bengals. Dak Prescott will throw 5 picks. The Bengals will win 73-6.
Damn. But
128-3, Mike.
Knock off the Bears Saturday Night Live skit, all right, Joe?
No. What are you doing?
Who?
You.
I'm doing the same thing they were doing at the Bengals game in front of you when Sam Hubbard ran the
gross.
ball back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need an adult. Pineapples.
Joe had a couple that was doing it dirty close to where he was sitting during the Bengals game, and the cops came and arrested him.
No, never before in my life have I seen that at a sporting event.
Where have you seen that in other forms of life, Joe?
Usually when I'm alone and lonely.
Gross. Lonely?
If there's nobody else around, how do you see it?
I don't like this. I don't like where this is going.
We're not taking it in this direction.
This is going down
a family friendly show, Mike.
All right, give me this. Who's your NFL MVP, Dan?
It's Patrick Mahomes.
Joe.
Man, if I say who I think should be MVP,
Just
you're going to
say
call
who
me.
you think should be the MVP.
Joe Burrow.
Okay. I would agree with Joe Burrow, but I really don't care because this doesn't matter. NFL Coach of the Year. Joe. This is easy.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward.
And I do think there is one other contender.
Say it, Joe.
Come on. I'm going with what's his name up in Detroit.
Oh my God! Really?
Dan Campbell? Really?
Yeah. I think.
No.
I think
Brian Daboll.
Yeah, it's Brian.
I mean, why? Because they're in the playoff. You're not putting any stock into turning around a team that's been bad for the last 2 years.
The Giants.
What they win 7 of their last 8 games.
What did Giants do last year? What did Giants do the last decade? When's the last time the Giants were in the playoffs? 2016.
2016.
Yeah. And they're in a big market, and Detroit's not.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot harder to win on a coach in a big market than it does in a smaller market.
Also, I'm pretty sure Detroit's made the playoffs more recently than 2016.
I think it was they might have made it in 2017.
2017, yeah.
That was when they lost to the Seahawks because Stafford's hand or thumb or something was hurt. Also, Rookie of the Year, Sauce Gardner. Everybody agree?
I agree with that.
Defensive rookie, it's going to be Sauce, but Aiden Hutchinson
should
get some love.
No, he shouldn't. He's not even near. He had like 8.5 sacks.
He led all rookies.
Sauce Gardner, big freaking deal. And all the rookies sucked. But I can tell you this, Sauce Gardner gave up 1 touchdown pass, covering everybody's number 1 wide receiver. He shut down Jamar Chase, which we don't see very often as Bengal fans. I don't even think it's close. Worst analyst on NFL games. This is hands down too.
Wait, are you talking about like just an analyst in general?
Not the color guy, just the analyst.
The worst?
Yeah. It's easy. It's Tony Romo.
Well, he's a color guy.
Yeah.
No. Well, yeah, the analyst. You got an analyst and a play-by-play guy, right?
Color and play-by-play, yeah.
Yeah, he's horrible. He is the worst I've ever heard. I mean, he compared Josh Allen in a game where he threw 3 picks. He called him Mr. January, like Reggie Jackson. I don't remember Howard Cosell calling Reggie Jackson in 1977 Mr. October during the league championship series against the Royals. He did it because he did it in the World Series against the Dodgers. He then called him Michael Jordan. And I really thought at one point he was just going to tell everybody that they were in a romantic relationship because he was on his knees the whole show for Josh Allen. It was absolutely sickening. And I can tell you this, though. I think maybe the best play-by-play guy I've ever heard on an NFL game, the guy that calls the game, is Mike Tirico.
Really?
Yeah. I think the dude is as good as it gets. Hey, when the play happened where Hubbard grabs the ball, and 3 seconds into him running down the field, he blurts out the Cincinnati Kid. I mean, come on. Who thinks of that off the cuff in a moment like that? It's similar to Al Michaels. Do you believe in miracles? You know? Mike Tirico's good. Hey, Chris Collinsworth is excellent. They're the best team in football right now. Because I can tell you this. Tony Dungy and Al Michaels will put your ass to sleep.
Is oh man, what's his Phil Simms? Is Phil Simms a color commentator? I hate Phil Simms. That guy's
he's not colored, he's white.
Mike,
why do you say he's a colored commentator? Nobody thinks he's colored.
Yeah, that's what they call
him. He's
got
like snow white hair. Him and Boomer Esiason are like, I don't know, albino brothers or something. Are you gonna bring that up?
I'm just saying, is he play-by-play? I don't know what Phil Simms is, but I hate Phil Simms.
No, I don't think he is anymore, is he? I think he's just on the studio show. But the worst ever was Todd Christensen, which you guys probably aren't old enough to remember. But Todd Christensen was a very good tight end for the Raiders when they won the Super Bowl in 1980 and 83. But the thing was, whenever you'd watch a game, he'd do college games. He even did USFL games. He did NFL games. But all you heard is if a tight end dropped the ball, he said, well, you know, when I used to play the game, I made those catches. It was absolutely horrible. But I like Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. You know why I like Chris Collinsworth? Because all Bengal fans hate him because they think that he is being biased against their team, which is absolutely asinine.
I don't think so, Mike. I think he hates the city of Cincinnati and
You're
the Cincinnati Bengals.
Absolutely stupid if you believe that.
No, I do.
You are.
Because he's a complete jackass, and he is totally biased.
Actually, he is one of the nicer guys. He's one of the nicer guys you ever meet. And the thing is,
he might be nice, but he hates the city of Cincinnati.
How does he hate the city of Cincinnati?
He hates He didn't say a word. He didn't say a word when Hubbard. I came back and watched that game.
Why would he say a word?
He didn't say a word. He didn't have a comment. He didn't say anything good about Hubbard. All he does is antagonize the Bengals every time he does a Cincinnati game. He hates the city of Cincinnati, and that skinny little shit. I wouldn't care that I ever heard him call another game in my life.
Number one, he's one of the greatest receivers in Bengals
I'm not saying anything about
it. And he's the reason they went to Super Bowl 16. The addition of him is what put him over the top. And the fact is this, the fact that you think that he should be biased for Cincinnati, he goes the opposite direction. But you know what? You go on Ravens boards, and during the game, they're all bitching because he's a Bengals homer. When the Cowboys play the 49ers, you go look at
stupid.
No, Bengals fans, for the most part, are stupid. And they have sex in the stadium, Joe.
That's true.
And you go, and you need to shave your beard to show everybody how beautiful you are.
No, I can't do that.
Because Dan, we want him to keep the hair on the face so we don't see it.
That's right.
Well,
it's like makeup.
Unlike Dan and him backing out of a commitment of shaving his beard. If the Bengals,
no, he shaves his beard if the Bengals win the Super Bowl. He made the same promise last year,
and he did.
And he backed out because he said if they made it to the Super Bowl.
No, he said if they made it to the Super Bowl and they won the AFC Championship, he said he'd shave his beard live on air. Dan, if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, I will do that.
Will do that.
You both.
I will do that.
You both.
Nobody wants. No one wants to see me with a shaved face. I look like a naked mole rat. I look ridiculous.
You look like a naked mole rat right now.
I look
pubic hair is overgrown.
I look like Adam Sandler if Adam Sandler gained like 40 pounds
You really
and
don't.
started
Adam
drinking.
Sandler is
heavily.
not a bad looking guy.
No, but he's got an egg-shaped head like me, and I hate
Yeah,
it.
well, Dan, I got three chins and my mouth's crooked. So, and you could see all that when I don't have a beard. So, I'm willing to risk it.
All right, we'll look hideous on the air together. I can't wait.
Yeah. See, I don't have enough to shave, so I've already shaved my head. I got very little hair on my face, even. So I shave everything. All right, guys. What?
And you would think because there's hair here that there would be hair everywhere. Not completely shaved.
Alan,
His face is turning red.
You come into my house.
you get my wife's name right. Christina.
Where's the meatloaf, Dan?
Mike doesn't
Wrong-
get it. He
wrong
doesn't get the
movie,
reference.
Mike.
Yeah.
Same actor,
don't
wrong
care.
movie.
I know.
Yep.
I don't care. Nobody said that in a while. And
Ah.
by the way, in honor of Steve Risley, you're both dumbasses.
There it is. 51 minutes in. This might be a record.
I think I said it earlier to you, Dan. You just didn't pay attention.
No, you haven't said dumbass. You said moron twice. I've been
Mhm.
keeping count.
All
Mhm.
right. Well, moron is a cleaner version. I tried to wait till close to 9 to say dumbass, so the kiddies would be in bed. All right, we got anything else we want to discuss? Because
No.
I do. I just wanted to remind everybody that it's not just sports betting. Betting.net compares the best online casinos, so sit back, relax, and play the top online slots, pokers, and table games. I said pokers. Poker and tables game. Check out betting.net. And did you hear about the social casino bonus, Joe? I know you'll be interested in this. If you sign up with stake.us and use our exclusive promo code TGT Social, all capital letters, to secure your unique 5% rake back bonus. Doesn't that sound exciting? So,
It is exciting.
and Dan, you ought to let your mom know about it. She can sign up and get that rake back bonus.
No, the meatloaf and the bonus. We want
Nah.
it now.
Are you
Dan,
ever going to get a girlfriend, Dad, and leave my damn house?
Chaz, clean up your effing skateboard.
Yeah. You said you were helping with the electric bill this month, Dan.
Did I say that? I wasn't there
I
for
don't
that.
know.
Now, Dan's the kind that'll give her the money for the electric bill and then like a week later ask if he can borrow the money back and he'll pay her back next time the electric bill comes.
Yeah, yo, let me get $100 for the weekend.
Hey, Dan, why are you driving to Buffalo this week?
To see your pretty face.
I know, you should. You should drive to Buffalo.
Yeah, go to the Bills-Bengals game.
What does it take you from where you're at?
Probably like 5 or 6 hours,
Damn. Takes Joe 6 hours from
give or
Indiana.
take.
Nah, it's 7 hours and 12 minutes is what I got on the Google Maps.
Let me see.
But
Let me see how long it takes to get to Buffalo from here. Let me find out real quick, because now I'm curious. Let's see. From here to Buffalo. Just give me a second. My phone sucks. Okay, 5 hours and 52 minutes. So yeah, 6 hours.
well, you need to get online, get you a ticket, and go to the game.
Yeah, I think they're all like $600-700 now.
No, they're not. No,
I
they're
know.
very reasonable.
We're talking about good seats, though, Joe.
No, they're all under. I mean, even the good seats, you're looking at $350.
Is that all?
Yeah,
No, that's
they're
not bad at all. If you're an
That's not
idiot,
bad.
who pays $350 to go to a football game?
I do, Mike. I
know.
do.
That's why I said it. So, Dan, go to the game with Joe. You guys can post some pictures. Maybe we'll do a pregame show from Buffalo, and one of you can jump through a table, and the other one can have some common sense and not.
Yeah, no, I'm jumping through the table.
I'll put Joe through the table, and then I'll do an elbow drop
Yeah.
on him.
You're going to put Joe through the table. I don't think you could. I think Joe would just obliterate your ass in a fight.
No. It'll be like they do in WWE. He'll jump up, and then I'll power bomb him that way.
I'm
be great.
good with jumping through a table. That's why I look like I'm older than you now, Mike.
You look like a what?
I said that's why I look like I'm older than you.
Oh.
No,
Does he look
no.
older than me, Dan?
You know, he looks like he could be your
Father?
grizzled brother,
Yeah.
like the older adopted.
There you
Older
go.
adopted.
Yeah, he'd have to be
possibly-
adopted because I'm much better looking, don't you think, Dan?
Po- Possibly Canadian.
Eh?
Definitely special.
I'm
half
special,
Definitely
yeah.
special. Mom
Yeah.
and Dad always called him special growing up.
Yeah.
Is your
That's why I
keep
say
an eye
special
on your
teams.
special brother. And then I would see Joe. He had a beard. And he was like 5, and he had
Yeah.
that hat or helmet on, and he'd ride his bike backwards.
And I would take
It
that
was
to heart.
awesome. And he was
That's right.
drinking craft beer because he had no common sense.
No,
From
I'd
his
never
chest
drink.
pubes down to his ball throw.
Does anybody really like? Do you really like craft beer?
I love craft beers.
Yeah, I don't.
It tastes like ass.
I think it's
though.
ridiculous.
Honestly, dude, I drank Keystone, Coors Light, Bud Light in college because I was a poor college student. But then once I got like my own money and I didn't have to borrow $50 from mom to get a
Discovered Bush
a
Apple.
rack and some
Do
McDonald's.
you drink the
one
beer
day.
like that with your pinky up?
Yo, pinky's up, bitch.
Because really, it's hard to be a man if you're drinking craft beer, isn't it?
Nah, man. I can't do this light beer. I can't do Budweiser.
But
I
craft
can't
beer
do
tastes really bad.
You don't have to do anything. You
Budweiser
just
tastes bad.
You could not drink beer at all and just be
shoot
sober.
fireball.
You know what?
Real men shoot fireball, Dan.
Do they?
I don't think so. Isn't that like lighter fluid or something?
I don't know what it is, but it's great.
It's how can I put this in a non-offensive way? It is the preferred beverage of floozies and
Floozies.
What's
Well,
and
your mom
floozies.
taught you that word, didn't she?
I heard it in a movie somewhere.
That's
Said
the one
by an old
time. The
person.
one
I don't
time
know what a
Dan brought
floozy is, Dan.
the one time Dan brought what he thought might have been a woman home, they called him a floozy. Oh, Steve Risley's here. Should we just get off here?
Oh, Steve's here?
Copy
Yeah,
bounced
let him
off. The fuck that. He sent us some message about why he missed. He can't figure out how to use these new computers, so it doesn't really matter.
I'm gonna have to zoom me.
All right, here's the thing that's amazing. Since we've talked about absolutely nothing in the last 10 minutes, our numbers have stayed the same. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap the show up. I want to remind this. If you're a Bengals fan, tomorrow night at 7, the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show with myself, the very articulate Ty Robbins, former Cincinnati Bengal linebacker Joe Kelly, and Bengal superfan Tony the Tiger will be our special guest tomorrow night.
Love
What?
Tony.
You love Tony?
Yeah,
Have you met Tony?
I have. Every time I see him, I try to get a picture with him, and he's such a nice guy. He's like, "Yeah, whatever, hurry up." That's great.
And how many
to
pictures
get a
do you have
picture
with
with another adult male. That is so stupid.
Hey, he dresses up like a tiger. It's great.
Hey, I think we've got a special caller on the line. Caller, where are you calling from? It sounds like our special caller is watching the news.
From a parking lot.
From a parking lot in a mail
Caller,
caller.
is your name Steve?
Yo,
Oh shit.
Hey
Where you
guys,
been,
it's
Steve?
Steve Risley, 1981 national champion with the Indiana Hoosiers. How you doing, Steve?
well, now my link 15 minutes before the show, so and I'm on
You
a
did
3-hour
what?
time difference.
Did you say you got laid 15 minutes before the show? What'd you say?
Probably that too.
Steve, you old dog.
Damn. All right, Steve, real quick. We're wrapping it up, so we got to get off here before the hour, but we need your 4 picks. Are you ready?
Fire away.
This is like the
Yes.
lightning round in one of those old shows. We got the Jacksonville at Kansas City by 8.5.
Kansas City.
My boy.
We've got the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles -7.
Take the Eagles.
My
Oh,
boy.
you agreed with me and Joe on both games. Disagreed with us, and you're agreeing with Dan. You're in trouble. Next up, Bengals at the Bills. Bills -4.
Bills -4.
Yeah.
Take the Bengals.
Yeah, that line seemed kind of stupid to all of us. Next up, Cowboys at the 49ers. 49ers -4.
49ers are a juggernaut right now. I'm going to stick with the 49ers.
All right, so you agreed with Dan on everything.
Everything.
And disagreed
My
with
boy.
me and Joe on 3 of the games.
With Dan
All
on
right.
everything because I think craft beers suck.
Well,
Come
Dan's
on,
the one that
Steve.
likes it. It's stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, it is stupid.
So does all those millennial females drink that stuff.
Nothing
Gotta have
wrong with
something
good
in
old
common
Miller.
with
Nothing wrong with good old Miller Lite.
Miller Lite sucks.
Gross.
Actually, beer sucks.
Yeah, it does.
I quit drinking January 1, so I don't drink anymore.
That's awful. I gave up beer for like a month, and it was awesome because
You
on
didn't
one
have to
hand,
pee all the time?
well, no, I don't have those problems. I don't have any prostate issues.
Okay.
But
You will, so don't make fun of it.
but I gave up drinking beer for a month when I was doing I tried the keto
Cocaine?
diet. I tried the keto diet and I stopped drinking beer for a month.
You
I
can
actually
still drink beer on the keto diet. You just got to go like Mick Ultra.
nah.
I gave up beer for cocaine. It's great.
It's great.
For
No.
the cocaine diet. What?
So I gave it up for a month and I lost like on that diet, I lost like 20, 25
Oh, yeah.
pounds.
I can see why you reversed and decided to drink beer again.
Yeah, I was miserable. I wanted to
I
hurl
know.
myself into oncoming traffic.
It's
I
easier to
couldn't
get girls
drink.
if you're not fat,
Dude.
though.
I couldn't drink or eat anything that I wanted to.
Dude,
I was
keto,
so
you can eat like steak every day. What are you complaining about?
yeah, but I don't want steak every day. I don't want grilled chicken every day. I want to drink a beer like a man. I want to
Well,
have.
don't drink craft beer. I mean, you can have barbecued ribs on keto.
He wants
Yeah,
to
it's
drink
all
White Claw like a man.
It's all fat. I don't want to eat just fatty foods. I don't want to just have a plate full of bacon and cheese.
Yeah, you don't want to be healthy.
I want a sandwich, dude. I'm a man. I want to have
If you're a man, you wouldn't drink craft beer and you would be married. You're like 40 and you don't even have a woman.
I'm not 40, damn it.
How old are you?
I'm the youngest one here.
You don't look
No,
it.
you're not. I'm only 24, Dan.
Yeah, you were 24 back during Vietnam. When it was still cool to get.
Why would you rip on him? That's where he lost his leg.
And his left nut. I know.
No, that was when he went to your house, spent the night, and fell asleep.
That wasn't during the war.
That's what I'm driving 6 hours for.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, you're in the White Claw, aren't you? Maybe White Claw week.
You know what?
Don't
My
say you're in a
friends
White Claw.
love White Claw, and I can't stand it.
You know what I would do if all my friends like White Claw? I would get different friends. But then again, I don't have any friends except for Joe and Steve and you. So
if I didn't have my friends, I wouldn't have any friends either. It'd be down to you three too.
You probably have a lot of friends because you seem like the guy everybody would like because they can do whatever they want to and you're cool with it.
Yeah. Well, it's the other way around. I'm the doer.
Yeah. Like, hey,
Yeah, I
Dan,
doubt
you want to
that.
go camping?
I
Yeah,
love
man.
camping. Yes, I'm in.
Want to go to Brokeback Mountain?
You want to go to a dungeon techno party in Brooklyn? Yes, I'm in 100%.
What's
I don't know what that is.
techno party?
Yep.
Is that where everybody dresses up like a dragon?
No, that's Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
Comic.
These millennials, you're all communists. That's why this country is going to.
I mean,
Can I get a name
you want
on
to dress
Steve?
up like a dragon.
Dan's a communist, isn't he, Steve?
I don't
I
think
don't
Steve
know
is
what
with us.
Dan is.
Oh, Steve's here.
Everybody has.
Miss you, Steve.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
we'll get back tomorrow and hopefully put this thing to bed.
All right.
All righty, guys.
Bye, Steve.
Is going to wrap it up. Remember, check out betting.net, especially check out stake.us, TGT Social to secure your unique 5% rakeback bonus. Follow us at Grueling Truth. Remember, the Bengals show is tomorrow night at 7 with our special guest, Tony the Tiger. Make sure you check that out. But for now, for Joe Spillman, Steve Risley, Dan Kornhauser, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth.